What's up, YouTube? It's Kenny again. Hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to this channel. Look, guys, I made a mistake. You guys don't know how much I want to quit this job. Usually I don't stay out longer than 8 weeks. Usually 6 to 8 weeks is as long as I stay out on the road. For those of you who are new, I'm a truck driver saving to do van life. I'm in the process of finishing my build. And in 4.5 months, I'm quitting this fucking job. So I've been out now for over 8 weeks. I'm a week and a half from home time. And as I approach that 8-week mark, I get into this thing where I start getting agitated about things and I start getting aggravated easily. And, you know, I'm just, it's almost like that 7 weeks out on the road is the maximum I can take before it starts grating on me. Okay. And I'm at about 8.5 weeks right now. And so I find myself like I almost blew my top over some shit yesterday in traffic. And, you know, it's just the nature of being isolated for these long periods of time. And so while there was a reason I'm staying out for 10 weeks this time that has to do with me saving, it's not easy, all right? I'm a social person by nature, so all of this isolation really starts getting to me, even though I was able to be at home for one night and go see my friends and stuff a couple weeks ago, and I thought that would kind of refresh me. It didn't. And so we had an incident this morning. So at my company, we have a different crew of dispatchers that work like at night and on the weekends and stuff, and it's not my normal people that I deal with, right? And these people don't know what the hell is going on, especially being that I'm on this craft dedicated fleet that is like a specialty thing inside of what we do that has its own nuances and its own way that things work, and they don't have a clue about that. So anyway, every once in a while, it's happened a few times in the last month or so, every once in a while there'll be some overzealous night dispatcher who will call you in the middle of the night and start questioning you about some shit, not realizing that things are not the same on this dedicated fleet. And it happened this morning. They called me at 6 o'clock this morning. She was questioning me about why I'm not on the road and why I haven't picked this load up yet, blah, blah, blah. And I about fucking cussed her. I did everything except cussing her ass out. And I'm sure I probably used a couple of cuss words. I don't remember exactly, but, you know, I blew up at her. And I couldn't go back to sleep. Got up, had some coffee, called her back, and was like, look, I understand that you don't really know what's going on with this craft stuff. So I apologize that I blew up at you this morning, but let me instruct you, if I could, on what is actually taking place. And so I went through this whole thing of telling her why I'm doing things the way I'm doing things. Ultimately, this is a discussion that I had with my normal dispatcher, and he sent an email off and stuff. Ultimately, those fucking night people and weekend people don't need to be calling us unless there's some kind of an emergency. If the refrigeration unit on my trailer dies or goes out of range or something, yes, by all means, call me at fucking 4 o'clock in the morning and tell me so we can get that taken care of. But don't be calling me on no stupid little scheduling stuff that you have no understanding of. It is my job as a driver to look forward to my next loads and look and see what's important and make sure that the important stuff happens on time. And what happened is I have to deliver a load tonight at midnight. And so I can't start my clock at 6 o'clock in the morning. I have all these clocks I have to manage and maintain, or else I'll run out of hours. And so anyway, I instructed her about all this stuff. Now, whether or not the last time I did that with one of them, emails started flying and people were potentially getting in trouble. And I don't really give a fuck, to be honest with you. The motherfuckers ain't calling and waking me up when I'm doing the right thing. So Anyway, that's my real talk. And I'm ready. The closer it gets, the more ready I am to quit this job. All right, I'm ready to quit. 4.5 months. I got 4.5 months to go. Week and a half till I get home and work on the van. So let's talk about the van. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button if you like the real talk. You know, I mean, you're not going to get this kind of conversation on all these other van life channels. They're just like, oh, everything's happy and beautiful, and look how pretty it is, and look how perfect it is. And it's not perfect. Life is not perfect, all right? But anyway, so the van's still in the mechanic. Everything's done. Like, everything's been done. But the rear heater doesn't work. Like, it works in the front. It will cook your ass. So I don't really need the rear heater, but I want to know what's going on in that rear system. I want them to take the wall off and look at the system to make sure that there's not some screwy going on. And the reason is because years ago I had a Chevy Astro van that had rear issues with the heater. And when I ripped it open, the guy that had it before me had bypassed a bunch of shit, and it was all screwy back there, and it messed the whole system up eventually, and it was never right again. And so I want to make sure that something screwy is not going on back there, because when I go in this time, I'm building a big unit back there, and if something was to go wrong and we needed to get to that stuff, I got to pull that whole unit out to even be able to get to it. It's in the back corner back there. So I want them to look at it and see what's going on. That's the only thing that they got left to do. So what all did we get done? So for those of y'all that are new, bought the van for $4,000, and then I spent $4,000 having a whole bunch of stuff done in the engine compartment. All right, a bunch of stuff. All right, I got a really good deal with these guys. They treated me real well at this mechanic. And so then when I got it back, I started getting a check engine light that was just a small emissions component that needed to be replaced. And also, once I'd installed my DC to DC charger, I was getting some belt squealing. And one of the things that we did, so let's just run through real quick. So the first time I took it in the mechanic, now mind you, nothing was wrong with any of this stuff except for the AC. I replaced it all for peace of mind, so that it's all brand new stuff, you know. So we upgraded the alternator to a bigger alternator because I'm going to be doing the DC to DC charging. We changed the water pump, the fan clutch, the thermostat, the radiator hoses, a bunch of heater hoses, did a transmission service, differential service, changed the transmission output shaft seal, redid the whole AC system, and a bunch of other stuff too. There was a bunch of work done to it, okay? So when I got it back, I got that, started getting that little check engine light on emissions component, and it was also making this noise that was coming in through the exhaust that I couldn't figure out what it was. And then the AC stopped working, that had just been completely rebuilt. So I brought it back to them and, you know, said, let's go through this thing again. Let's figure out what's going on. The AC turned out to be the brand new compressor failed already. It was, you know, under lifetime warranty, so it didn't cost me anything. The belt squealing. So the first time it was in, they had told me there was a little power steering leak. And I was like, we're not going to mess with that. Okay. And I figured it had something to do with the alternator, the new alternator. But ultimately, it was the combination probably of the AC compressor going out and the power steering pump. So they, you know, obviously it was free to do the warranty work to fix the compressor. The AC's working again. I went ahead and had them replace the power steering pump. The alternator's been replaced. They replaced the belt tensioner. They replaced the idler pulley. So, long story short, every single thing that the belt touches, other than the harmonic balancer, has been replaced now. They also found a little bitty leak in the crankshaft seal. So we went ahead and changed that. That was a kind of a major operation. And they figured out that the noise that was happening, there was a noise coming through the exhaust, and they struggled and struggled to try to figure out what it was. And turns out it was a bolt. It was a bolt somewhere that was loose. It was allowing the exhaust to leak. And we went through a lot of stuff together. Like, I was researching, they were researching, they were hooking stuff up to it, checking the rear end and stuff. They finally figured it out. So in other words, all that to say, the van is solid as fuck now. All right, it's solid. Everything's sorted. No check engine lights. No weird noises. Almost everything surrounding that whole engine has been replaced. So the engine just turned over to 100,000 miles. It ought to have another 150, 200,000 miles in it. Transmission, you know, also, I mean, obviously, if it hasn't been replaced, it's, you know, 100,000 miles. It ought to have a good 100,000 miles left in that. And the transmission's in fantastic shape. When they serviced it, they took it, you know, took the pan off, replaced the filter, said it looked fantastic in there, and it shifts great. The suspension, there was stuff done to the suspension before I ever even got the van. It's got badass Bilstein shocks on it, you know, off-road tires. Of course, I replaced the back ones. Got BF Goodrich KO2s on it all the way around. And it's got airbags on the back, so I can take my little compressor and hook it up to this nozzle on the back, and it'll raise that back end up or down based on the air pressure. It's a camping beast, all right? So, super mechanically solid at this point. I'm not worried about that at all. And depending on what they find when they open up that back compartment, I may or may not fix that heater. I don't need that rear heater working. The front one will cook you. But I do want to know, like I said, if there's something screwy going on back there that's going to cause me problems down the road, I want it fixed. So that's where we're at. And, you know, I talked in the last video, I'm going to do a bunch of work when I go in. So basically where I'm at with everything is that the main decision that needs to be made now is whether or not I'm doing paint. And I'm of two separate minds when it comes to that, because, like, so when I first got the van, it had rust on the top, and I sanded it all, and I used Eastwood product, and it's all solid now. But the top of it is gray, and it's, you know, it's a typical GM van from those years, and it's like got paint flaking off of it all over the place, just down to the primer though. There's no metal showing or anything. I could leave it the way it is. So I'm of two minds when it comes to that. Number one, if it's ugly, then a thief is liable to just walk right by it. You know, somebody that might potentially break into it is liable to just look at it and say, that ain't worth it. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, it might make it more likely for me to get pulled over, you know? So I'm back and forth, and I need to make that decision soon, because if I'm going to paint the top of it, then I need to get it painted so it can cure out and everything before I go drilling holes in it. That's going to be the very last thing that happens, is I'm going to get all this stuff on the top done. Interior, you know, I am changing out the DC to DC charger. It's already arrived over there. It's like an hour job or something probably. But, you know, the electrical system is all done and everything's purchased except for the solar panels. I need to put my 6-inch max fan in the roof, and I need to drill a hole and put a bladder for the solar wires to come in. And then I'm ready to mount solar and stuff. That's the last thing that's going to happen. And, you know, the reasoning being that I keep seeing solar panels kind of prices drop a little bit. New products come out and stuff. And I want to kind of wait until the last minute to buy them, just in case something comes out that gets me more, or gets me, because right now I'm limited by the space on the roof. So while I could get 550 watt bifacial panels for not very much more expensive than the ones I'm looking at, they're too long. You know, the ones that fit with the scheme that I've got are the 400 watt Canadian solar panels. I can get 2 of those on top of it without them sticking out or anything really. So it's, you know, whether I go buy them this time or I'll probably wait until the next time I come in to buy them. And then I got to do a little bit of refinishing on the racks. I got 4 roof racks that came with the van. They got a little rusty stuff on them that, you know, I might do a little refinishing too. And then I'm going to use Unistrut and build a frame that the solar panels mount on, and then mount the whole thing to those 4 racks. So what I'm focused on right now is getting the interior stuff finished out, which is, it's not really that much. I'm going to build a unit on the left side, the left side door. I'm going to build a unit there that's going to have water and probably some storage and a little desk thing for me to put my laptop on, and maybe another piece that comes up for more counter space. I got to do the counter and the back unit, and then finish closing in and making the cabinet for the electrical. And do the lights and the 12 volt, and that's it really on the inside of it. I mean, there's going to be some curtains and some window stuff, but it's not really that much. All of the hard stuff, which was the electrical, has already been done. As far as electrical is concerned, all I really got to do is mount the solar charge controller, run the wires through the roof, and hook it up, and it's done, you know. Anyway, hit that subscribe button, guys. Subscribe to this channel, because in 4.5 months it's going to kick off, and we're going to have build stuff going on before that. Leave me a comment too. The algorithm, you know, it likes people that are commenting and liking and stuff, so that it shows it to more people. So like the video, leave me a comment, even if it's just something stupid. Call me a name, just leave a comment. Because, you know, I'm trying to build this up as much as I can before I take off. I suspect that when I post the final tour and some more build videos, those tend to do well. I'm going to do some kind of a "I made a huge mistake" to kind of title thumbnail thing on this video, because I've recently learned that those are really the ones that get a video to have more views. So I'm going to try to start doing a little bit of that clickbait type stuff, just to see if it helps. Don't hate me for it. Trying to build this thing up, guys. It would be nice if once I take off, after the first few months, I could get enough people on here to make a little bit of money. Right now, you know, this thing is making me about $7 a month, and they don't even pay out until you hit 100 or something like that. So it's not all about the money, but it sure would be nice if I get to a point where I could just stop doing this truck driving shit. You know what I mean? It's not that I hate it, but I want freedom, guys. I want freedom. That's the whole point of me doing all this. I'm not getting no younger, and there's no guarantee that I'm going to have any kind of a healthy retirement after 65 or something. I'm trying to get mine now, you know, and I think that's what most of us van lifers are out here trying to do, is enjoy life now while we're young and young enough, healthy enough to enjoy it. So hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave me a comment below, and I will see you on the next one.